What's up, fine folks? Welcome to episode 32 of Double Tapped. I am Jay.
I'm Tanner.
Tanner, I've got high hopes for these.
High hopes.
As we said, so last night was night one of the NCAA men's basketball Final Four.
Yep.
And it was also night one of WrestleMania.
Yes.
So we had a little shindig.
Yeah.
Beverages were consumed
Yep.
in varying quantities by various people.
Yeah, I had like 3, I think, over the course of like 7 hours.
So I've opted
not
for non-beer, but beer adjacent today. Also, it's got a little hiss.
Yeah, you're
Maybe you
slowly
hear that.
letting out the carbonation.
You got to do that. It's like, I don't know what it's like.
Okay, do you want to for the video watchers?
I was gonna get there.
Okay,
all
right. I was just gonna. All right,
but I was very
okay.
optimistic. I wanted to taste this beverage.
Okay.
And over the course of the beverage drinking, I'll tell you why I'm wearing sunglasses.
Okay. Well, hold on. Before we drink, we gotta do the thing and read it.
Yeah, it's the Lemonade.
Yeah. See what they did there?
From Rheingeist RG Bev.
Our beloved Rheingeist.
Indeed.
Hard craft beverage with lemon and natural flavors. A tart and refreshing blend of lemon and lime. There's 2 ampersands in one sentence. That's kind of crazy. Your new main squeeze. Real fruit, real flavor. It is 5%.
It's reminiscent of something.
Lemonade?
But more, it's like sharper and limier.
Ooh. Oh, I kind of like this a lot. Wow.
Okay, I do like it.
Yeah.
But it makes me think of Pledge.
It did. Yeah, that's right.
It's
You're
got
totally
a Pledge
right.
element to
it.
it.
It tastes how Pledge smells.
And I always did like the smell of Pledge.
Yeah, it smells good.
So I'm not going to complain too hard about that.
I like it.
So, I've been having some eye issues as of late.
Yes.
Went to the eye doctor for the first time in over 15 years.
Never been.
I'm pretty sure I got an eye exam once when I was like 10.
Yeah.
Just to do it.
Yeah, you
just
don't
to
need
check.
glasses, you're good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have had no vision issues ever since.
Right.
And these aren't even vision issues. I have like some gland swelling.
Yeah.
That has sort of contributed to, and I think it's like because it blocks some of the fluid getting to my eyelid or eye gets dry easier.
Sure.
Gets a little irritated a little easier.
Sure.
And I'm supposed to not touch it. So all these things being mitigated by me wearing sunglasses.
Yes.
As I was wearing sunglasses last night, but I was staring at a giant, like a 75-inch television.
Yeah.
You know, after a few minutes of mockery, I think it made sense to everybody.
No. It made total sense. I kind of just forgot about the eye thing for a while.
Oh, yeah. I was definitely not just sitting there sunglassed out for no reason.
Yeah.
So, with that in mind,
Yeah. Get better soon.
I will do my best. I do apparently have to get it, should get it removed. Not looking forward to that. So, can't wait to tell y'all that story whenever that happens.
I will probably throw up.
Because he has a thing with eyes.
Yeah, that's my whole thing. The only like phobia, if you want to call it that, I have is like any sort of damage to someone's eyes.
Yeah.
Which, side note.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about video games in a minute. I promise. Movies lately.
Ooh.
I feel like every horror movie I've
That's an eye
watched
thing.
has some sort of eye thing, and I watch a lot of horror movies, and I just feel like that's just like it must either be a very common like phobia kind of thing, or it's just something that's very uniquely exposed on a person.
It is no, I think that this is a somewhat ubiquitous thing, but you have a more acute sort of.
It hurts me more than most.
Yeah, but I definitely think everyone has like a sort of vulnerability about, don't get around my eyes.
Yeah.
I don't even like people like putting your fingers.
Oh, no,
Like, my
maybe,
girlfriend
yeah.
was just like, start doing this. And I was like,
Yeah, no, I would not want to do that.
so. Anyway,
Video
on to
games.
the video game stuff. What you been playing? Lots more Horizon. I know that.
Yes, I've probably doubled my hours in Horizon, if
Good.
not more.
You got to the thing.
Yes, I got to the thing. We'll do a spoiler cast at some
some
point.
point.
Probably much later, because Jay's still doing Elden Ring. And
Yeah,
and-
which I'll tell you in a second.
Yeah, it'll take me weeks to finish this game because I'm doing it all in the stream. But even more fond of it now than I was last time.
Good.
It's definitely in like the 9 range for me at current moment. We'll see how it ranks. The thing that we've talked about, or that Jay mentioned a couple of weeks back, is a pretty interesting and a little like, I don't know if worrisome is the right word, but I don't love this little story beat, but maybe I will once I understand what's happening. It was just such a right turn as opposed to everything
Definitely
else.
complicates things.
Yes, which in a way could make for a much better story
Yeah.
to have sort of these two competing elements of like your attention, but also it's just like, okay, let's see where we're going. But yeah, combat has gotten even better. I only have I've played long enough now to have two little minor complaints.
Okay.
One of them is that it is not clear where you can like vault to as in terms of a ledge unless you use your little scan.
Sure.
And I wish it was like, I understand the game is kind of built around you scanning a lot, but that's just an extra button press. And if it's just a rock facing, do the Uncharted thing or the Tomb Raider thing where it's very clear, okay, these are the ledges I can jump to, these aren't. I forget what my other minor complaint was. I have run into one fight ending glitch. I was doing a boss fight and the boss the boss had some sort of grab attack where he like grabs you, hoists you up and like talks to you or whatever. Or, you know, probably like punches you. But for some reason when he went to grab, I don't know if it was where my camera was or where I was positioned or whatever, but Aloy just T-posed. And then I could not do anything and just had to accept the death and restart the fight. Which, streaming it made it funny.
Sure.
But if I was playing just by myself, I'd probably laugh and be like, oh man, I have to do this whole fight
It's
again.
a little frustrating.
But yeah, there have been little tiny complaints here and there, but nothing major. And I've really enjoyed my time with it so far.
Yeah.
I've also been playing. Have I talked about Fury yet?
Not here.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, I can remember if that was last week or this week. So I finished Fury, which was a PlayStation Plus game.
Furi, correct?
Yes, Furi, correct. It was a Plus game like 3 years ago. It's been a while, and it is a sort of arcadey top down. Well, sort of top down. It's like that 2.5 can switch cameras thing, but a lot of the combat's from top down. Boss rush type game. It is very reminiscent of like a Souls game, but in terms of the boss fights being hard, and that's I guess kind of where the similarities stop. But it's the boss fights are more akin to like Returnal, where there's just a ton of shit coming at you and you have to figure out how to process it all. But something that's really interesting about it, and I think I started it like a month or so ago, so I may have talked about some of this already on the podcast, but the fights are very long. So like each boss fight to complete it takes like 20 minutes, which sucks when you fail.
Sure.
But each subsequent try, you know more of what they're going to do, so you get faster at it. But also, so the health bar structure is really interesting. So you have like a health bar that you have to clear from a boss. And normally, for most fights, there are exceptions, but for most fights, the boss will... I said that like Italian, like the boss. The boss will do like the top-down arcadey shooting thing for the first part of his health bar. And then the second part of his health bar is a like Ghost of Tsushima style sword fight.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it like goes into a different camera mode. You're doing like this a lot of parrying and all of that. So it's like guns for the first part, swords for the second. Each wave, normal boss I think has like 4 or 5 waves, and each wave is a little different. In some cases a lot different. But if you like beat one of their lives, let's just call them lives. If you beat one of their lives, then if you lost a life, whenever you lose a life, that life just resets for the boss. But if you take one of their lives, you get one back. So there's a lot of like, as long as you can stay alive long enough to just beat that wave, you might get a life back and suddenly you're back in.
Yeah.
So that dynamic's really cool. It took me about 4 hours to beat, not super long, but definitely a very like focused 4 hours.
Yeah.
It was very, some of the boss fights are really hard. A couple of the boss fights are incredible. Like some of my favorite boss fights ever. The soundtrack is insane. It's very vaporwave cyberpunk
It looks
style
like
stuff.
synthwavy, just at least the visuals too.
Yeah, it is. It is all that, and yeah, totally recommend it. Big fan of that. And then the only other thing I've been playing is I'm back to Moonlighter. For some reason, that game has grabbed me again, and I beat the 4th dungeon or the 3rd dungeon, so now I'm on the 4th dungeon, and that's it.
If you had to score Fury, I mean, you've beaten it. Have you given any thought to that?
I think on the GG thing, I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. My only real critique, and maybe it's even higher than that, it's just 4 hours is such a short experience. It's hard to be like, that was a 10 sometimes.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, like Gone Home, I think is a great game, but my only complaints were I didn't care at all about the story.
Yeah.
Like, the story did not interest me at all. And I was a little. There are moments that can be really annoying because the hardest part of the boss fight is at the end. So if that part takes all your lives, then you have to restart and do all 4 of the 5 before then. So that's annoying. There's one fight in particular that I believe they're all called like the hand, the sound, the chain, things like that. I think it's called. Oh shoot, I've forgotten it now.
The hammer.
It might be the chain. The hammer.
Do they have Daryl Isaacs in other places?
Yeah, he's the.
Surely you guys know who Daryl Isaacs is.
Yeah, Daryl Isaacs is nationwide.
Okay. The hammer.
I thought you meant in the game. He's the final boss, Daryl Isaacs. The scrape. What's it called? Anyway, it's like a green. If you play the game, you'll know what it is. It's a green swampy boss, and the final phase of that fight is so hard that it took me probably an hour of my 4 hours to beat just that boss. So little complaints like that. And then the only other thing is it is boss rush, but there are these kind of, I think, unnecessary, which they're taken out if you do the speedrun mode. Just like, but between each boss fight is when you get little bits of the story and you just walk very slowly to the next arena. And it's just like, granted, you can just press X and it'll auto walk for you. So that's kind of nice. Oh. But I didn't discover that.
So it just becomes a cutscene?
Yeah. I didn't discover that until later. So tip for you if you pick up Fury, press X after the boss fight so you just can let go of the controller.
It's very odd.
Yeah, it's weird. So there's little things like that, but overall, really fun game. Doesn't take much of your time. The trophies, I've thought about going for them, but some of them seem really hard. Yeah. There's a trophy for there are speedrun trophies, which always are difficult. And then there was one that was like defeat so many bosses. Oh, it's get S rank on the hardest difficulty. And to get S rank, you have to basically not ever lose a life, and you have to only take a certain amount of hits for each fight. And you have to do the really hard like bonus fight. So it's one of those.
Yeah, sure.
But the game overall is really, really fun.
Yeah. I think that's one that I'm like 85% sure I added when it was free on PS Plus like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Which I would be curious now just if ever need something to play. Seems like a good, pop in, give it a shot kind of game.
You can totally watch other stuff while you play it.
With my taste.
Sure,
Seems like a game I might enjoy.
Yeah, totally.
So for me, just Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
How many hours are you in now?
This is week 3 update of Elden Ring, I believe. 72 hours in.
Okay.
And my understanding, I think, is I basically have 2 main bosses that are pretty much back to back to beat the game.
Okay.
So I'm basically at the end.
Yeah.
I've reached the clear cut. There is a moment I had said that I was like 80-ish% of the way through the game, I think a week ago, and that was when I was like 60-ish hours in. That was probably about right.
Okay.
But there is a moment that happens, and timing wise, it's hard to even say because it depends on how you approach the game.
Sure.
There is a moment where I would say, okay, this moment sort of defines you are now in the end game.
Sure. Okay.
So I think there is a clear cut thing there.
It's the you may want to go get all the inventory stuff you need kind of moment, I assume.
You ever think a Dark Souls actually has that kind of message for you?
No,
it doesn't.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And actually, just for a little bit of fun.
Okay.
And I think this might be something we want to approach as a full-fledged topic at some point in the near future.
Okay.
I have made a brief list of Elden Ring beginner's guide tips.
All right.
Like things that I wish I would have known.
Sure.
That are not made overt.
Yeah.
That are just good to know, not spoilery, like nothing like that. These are just things that legit.
Okay.
When you go into this game, these are mechanics that will be helpful for you to know so you don't have to just randomly happen upon them.
Right, okay.
So a few things. First off, I didn't learn this until like 3 or 4 days ago.
Okay.
If you dual wield weapons of the same type. So if you have a weapon in each hand and it's the same type of weapon, you go into something called power stance.
Okay.
And when you use power stance, if you attack with the weapon in your left hand, it'll swing both weapons at the same time.
Oh.
So if you have some sort of elemental effect on both weapons, you can get the effects of both with each swing.
Oh, that's cool.
So that helps with like if you've got like mine is a bleed build, or if you do a frost build or a magic build, like whatever.
I'm gonna fix this battery thing.
Okay. That's gonna help you get the full effects of whatever build you decide to do. Tanner's officially under the table. He's going deep. He's getting in there. I'm gonna do a little bit of play-by-play. All right. There's a cord.
Camera's going to cut.
It's being fiddled with. Here we go. Oh, God. Things have gone dark. There are definitely moments in Elden Ring that if you don't have a torch, this is what it's going to be like. Oh.
Hey, we're fixed.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Oh,
it just does. It's so It's kind of boring to explain. Never mind.
I don't care about it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So that's the power stance rule there. So left attack only is the thing that works for that.
Okay.
Next up, I said don't sweat your early build because it has the respec mechanic in the game, but upgrading your weapons early in the game is difficult because the materials required to upgrade your weapon are kind of hard to come by early on.
Okay.
So you probably need to commit to a weapon early on. Don't have 3 or 4 that you're sort of milling about between.
Sure.
Later in the game, I mean, the other day, I bought a weapon and was able to go get everything to completely upgrade it, like, almost instantly.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's late in the game, you're able to do that. But early in the game, you kind of have to commit.
Right.
So there are these things that you will collect in the game called Great Runes.
Okay.
They're basically like shards of the Elden Ring that you get from different bosses. And they have different effects. But the way that it is implied in the game is that, it's like, this rune just upgrades all your stats. And it's like, okay, would you like to equip it at this bonfire, or Site of Grace is what they're called in this game. And you equip it. My assumption was that, I equipped it. All my stats have been raised. That's not the case.
Okay.
You have to use a consumable called a rune arc to get the benefits of whatever great rune you have equipped.
Gotcha.
And the effects last until you die, and then you'd have to use another rune arc to get the effects. So I did not know that for a while.
Okay.
I love the basic enemies should take 3 hits to kill standard. I just wrote that down. I don't remember who I got that from, but that's a great rule.
Yeah.
So remember that.
So that, if you didn't hear past episodes, it's if your normal enemy doesn't take 3 hits to kill, you're probably in an area that's too strong for you.
Exactly. The game is excellent at sort of telling you when you're under-leveled.
Okay.
Summons, a mechanic that I did not start using until like a week ago.
Okay.
Are overpowered in a lot of ways.
Okay.
They have trivialized a couple of bosses that otherwise would probably be incredibly difficult.
Okay.
Trivialized might be a strong term.
Sure.
But I beat bosses in 1 or 2 tries that might otherwise take me 10 tries.
Oh, wow.
To use summons requires your magic bar, your mana.
Okay.
Again, I've used this bar so little. I know. This is for future reference.
Yeah, there's so many things being thrown out.
You get these summons, you collect them, and you use them just like you would use like your healing flask.
Sure.
You just scroll through your little group of items. Your summon comes up, you use it. It takes some of your magic. One of them takes some of your health. So make sure you know the rules. But like that's how you equip them. I didn't know that for a while. I thought it was like maybe a thing that only magic users did.
Oh, okay.
No, as long as you have just enough focus points, as they're called, to have the summon, that's all you need.
Okay.
So they work in the same way that your flasks do. And then the last thing, do not be afraid to just run through and find a Site of Grace.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have noticed this game is a lot more plentiful with the checkpoints than previous FromSoft games. So as long as you look, there's some that are kind of tucked away and hidden.
Sure.
But as long as you're sort of checking every room, looking around every corner as you go, you'll probably find one close to a boss or a decent chunk in. You're like, I've been running a long time. There's got to be one around. There probably is.
Right.
So don't be afraid to do that. I could come up with 15 more because this game is obviously just so much.
Yeah.
But that's a brief beginner's guide, and I'll actually circle back to something about that later on.
Okay.
But for now, this was a ginormous news week.
Yes, it was. We almost did an emergency pod.
And it's probably a good thing that we didn't.
Yeah, because other stuff came out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's just go through it all one by one.
Okay, by the way, just for video listeners, I'm not on my phone. I'm just timestamping.
Yeah, he's stamping the times. Thing 1.
Yeah.
The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel has officially been delayed to 2023.
Yup.
And sure, I'm not in the camp that was like, there's a fervor around this game that maybe, Elden Ring might be the closest comparison of like there wasn't a fervor around a game like this for a while.
Sure.
But they were like, when's it coming out? Now we learned when it was coming out and then it got delayed. I'm just in the camp of I'm going to play it when it comes out. Probably.
Yeah.
But I'm also kind of like, am I going to get my Switch back out for this? You will.
Yeah, I will.
Because you absolutely love
Breath of the Wild is one of my favorite games ever, yeah.
I'm still like, I want to play it, but I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
but I know you were,
Yeah, I'm still super excited for it. Not super shocked by this delay, to be honest. one of those games that, similar to God of War, which I would not be shocked if it gets delayed as well, but they seem pretty adamant that it's coming out. We just haven't seen a lot of it, and I feel like, especially for Nintendo, if we weren't going to see a lot of it by like E3 season, like normally this is one of those games where the entire Direct would be Breath of the Wild Direct.
Absolutely.
And because we hadn't gotten that yet, and because we really had only seen, what is it, like 2 cutscenes from it?
Yeah. Ones that looked basically like they were in Breath of the Wild 1.
They could have been, exactly. Those could have been done, 2 years ago. I was not hopeful, and we'd never heard of a specific date. We just heard 2022. So not a big surprise. You and I are both of the camp of delays are always a good thing because they make the game better. And Lord knows that this year has had a plethora of huge game releases already, and is slated to have even more huge releases. So that is fine. Pace out our time a little bit more. That way, like God of War and Breath of the Wild 2 aren't dropping the same week or something crazy, like Horizon and Elden Ring kind of did. So yeah, I'm cool with it. I think a lot of people are pissed off about it. They're always going to be, and I always think that's silly anyway. But yeah,
once a game actually comes out or has come out, have you ever heard someone say, "I wish that game hadn't have been delayed"?
No,
I've never
always the
heard
opposite.
that.
It's always like I'm glad they delayed it. Yeah.
Like once the delay is over, you don't care anymore,
right?
And you don't see the effects that had. So you're like, if you say, "I wish this game hadn't have been delayed," be careful what you wish for, because there might have been bugs, graphical stuff that's just you never know what they were fixing.
Yeah, and like I think there's a difference between this and like the GTA 6 thing.
Oh yeah,
where GTA 6 is, we all know what's happening, but it could be 2028, and at that point I get why people might be impatient. If it's just a year, or probably more likely like 6 months, take all the time you need.
Yeah. The next story, which could have filled the whole show, arguably.
Yes.
PlayStation has officially revealed their new subscription service, which is officially called PlayStation Plus.
We said this.
Yeah. And I tweeted that I'm pissed off at myself. This should have been called PlayStation Platinum, or what? It's a 3-tiered subscription service, which I'm about to read a lot of the article from the PlayStation blog. It's a 3-tiered subscription service system. Why is the last tier not called like Platinum?
Yeah, it should be Platinum, Gold, Silver.
It's dumb,
or something like that.
Marketers at Sony, you fumbled the bag on this one.
I think PlayStation Plus is probably a better name if they're looking to combine
for the
all the
actual
services,
service itself.
But I agree, the tiers should be the trophy names.
So, all new PlayStation Plus launches in June with 700 plus games and more value than ever.
Okay, do we want to talk about points as you go, or do you want to read it all and then talk about it after?
We read it all, or at least if you want to jump in at any point.
I was just gonna say, don't love that the first thing they're advertising is quantity. But
sure,
go ahead.
Fair. And this is written by Jim Ryan, president and CEO of SIE himself.
There you go.
Since launching PlayStation Plus in 2010, SIE has been at the forefront of innovation with game subscription services.
Have they?
They were?
And
then they weren't.
Yeah, this was a direct answer to a different game competitor's service. So.
Yeah. We were thrilled to be the first console membership service that included a refreshed library of games through PlayStation Plus, and also launched the first console game streaming service with PlayStation Now.
We at Sony are not going to get into the fact that we gave people free games on PlayStation Plus because our freaking network went down for like 2 months, and that was the first PlayStation Plus game.
Today, we are pleased to share with you official news about changes coming to our subscription services. This June, so 3 months from now,
pretty soon,
we're bringing together PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now in an all-new PlayStation Plus subscription service that provides more choice to customers across 3 membership tiers globally.
Okay, hold just a second.
Of course.
Do you remember, this is a fun little trivia question for you, do you remember the name of the company Sony bought to make PlayStation Now?
Gaikai.
Freaking Gaikai.
And this was always like, I remember this being like a big deal theoretically at the time.
Yes.
People thought that like game streaming was like the next foray.
Yes.
And it's almost like people never thought about the possibility of like, well, if you have like a Netflix style like subscription service, I guess you could just let them download the games.
Yeah. And it runs way better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, last little bit here before the tiers themselves. Our focus is on providing high-quality, curated content with a diverse portfolio of games that has an asterisk beside it, which is never a good thing.
Wait, which part? Diverse portfolio?
Diverse portfolio of games. Let me see, where's the asterisk at? Oh, I guess, okay, the asterisk links to pricing, so I guess it's the diverse.
Oh.
How diverse the portfolio is depends on how much you're willing to pay.
Sure.
So, below is an overview of the 3 membership tiers. PlayStation Plus Essential is tier 1. Benefits. Provides the same benefits that PS Plus members are getting today, such as 2 monthly downloadable games, exclusive discounts, cloud storage, online multiplayer access. There are no changes for existing PS Plus members in this tier. So this is basically just PlayStation Plus as it currently exists.
Yes.
And that'll be in the US, $9.99 a month, $24.99 per quarter, $59.99 yearly.
Same price it is now.
Yeah, and varies slightly from country to country,
Sure.
as the currencies do themselves.
Yeah.
Next tier, PlayStation Plus Extra. Provides all the benefits from the Essential tier.
This reads like a Kickstarter.
Adds a catalog of up to 400 asterisk of the most enjoyable PS4 and PS5 games, including blockbuster hits from our PlayStation Studios catalog and third-party partners. Games in the Extra tier are downloadable for play. This is $14.99 a month in the US. And then you have PlayStation Plus Premium.
Not platinum.
Not platinum. It's regrettable. Benefits. Provides all the benefits from Essential and Extra. Adds up to 340 additional games.
So $740.
Including, and this is where people have gotten a little annoyed, PS3 games available via cloud streaming.
Yeah.
And then a catalog of beloved classic games available in both streaming and download options from the original PlayStation, PS2, and PSP generations. Also offers cloud.
Vita.
Yeah. Offers cloud streaming access for OG PlayStation, PS2, PSP, and PS4 games, offered in the Extra and Premium tiers in markets 2 asterisks.
Whoa.
Where PlayStation Now is currently available. Customers can stream games using PS4 and PS5 consoles and PC.
Oh, I didn't see that part.
Yeah, it says it here. Time-limited game trials will also be offered in this tier, so customers can try select games before they buy.
So demos.
$17.99 per month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to finish out? Is there anything else left?
There is PlayStation Plus Deluxe, which will be only in select markets, it says.
Okay, I didn't see this.
It says for markets without cloud streaming.
Oh.
So it's just sort of a variation.
Not us.
So yeah, not us.
Yeah.
The Extra and Premium tiers represent a major evolution for PlayStation Plus. It's basically just PlayStation Plus PlayStation Now.
Yeah.
With these tiers, our key focus is to ensure that the hundreds of games we offer will include the best quality content that sets us apart. At launch, we plan to include titles such as Death Stranding,
Yay.
God of War,
Yay.
Marvel's Spider-Man,
Yay.
Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales,
Yay.
Mortal Kombat 11,
Yay.
and Returnal.
Yay. All games we said last week, by the way. We're good. We're good.
We're working closely with our imaginative developers from PlayStation Studios and third-party partners to include some of the best gaming experiences available with a library that will be regularly refreshed. More details to come on the games we'll have on our new PlayStation Plus service. And it says PlayStation Now will transition into the new PS Plus offering, will no longer be available as a standalone service. PS Now customers, this is what you said, will migrate over to PlayStation Plus Premium with no increase to their current subscription fees at launch. So basically, your PlayStation Now becomes PlayStation Plus Premium for the duration of your membership.
So go buy a PlayStation Now subscription right now.
Absolutely. I just saw, as I was about to come over here, right now, I think it's either $50 or $60 for like a year of Now. That would be double the price if you wait.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if you should buy like 2 years of it and just stack, because I think you can stack them. Right?
I know you can stack Plus. I don't know if you can stack Now. That's for those people out there.
Might be the move. Might be the move.
And then the rest of it is just sort of puff piecey.
Sure.
But that's all the nitty gritty of the subscriptions themselves. It's about what I expected it would be.
Yeah.
There's not much more to say. Like, it is PlayStation Plus PlayStation Now with a few relevant first-party games just sort of peppered in there.
And upgrades. So I, in preparation for this topic, looked through the PlayStation Now library. And I don't
I'm
know.
sure that was not fun.
It wasn't. I don't know the number of games there. I'm going to guess probably 150, maybe 200. The amount of games that are like, oh, I want to play that. Probably less than 30.
Yeah.
Like it is. That's the thing that worries me about this, them leading with quantity. Now, granted, 700's a lot more than that. So you're probably going to land some better stuff. But the thing about Game Pass, if we're going to compare this directly to Game Pass, which is what this is and this, I don't know if you have this as a separate story or just want to talk about it now, the fact that they have already said that games are not coming to PlayStation Plus immediately.
Oh, I did not include this separately.
Okay, so just so it said, Jim Ryan, I think it was Jim Ryan, already said that like God of War Ragnarok is not going to be on the service immediately at launch. They were like, that doesn't make sense for our model. You know, he said some thing about like gamers won't get the premium experience or whatever. You know, he tried to twist it, but it was not a very good job.
Sure.
Basically just saying, no, we need the money from the sales of the game, which is understandable. And I've never been opposed to that, but I hope that that's not just always the case. I hope that there are games that are smaller, like something like Astrobot scale.
Sure.
That should come to the service day one. Or even something like Uncharted Lost Legacy could come to the service day one. Things like that. You don't have to put God of War Ragnarok there, but...
I mean, you have to entice people to buy this service somehow.
Exactly, yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, if this is just the same group, because God of War is already on now, Spider-Man is already on now, I think, or was at one point. And then like a lot of these games are in the PlayStation Plus collection already. So you're going to have to bring people in somehow. I don't know if that's going to be through third-party stuff. I don't know if they have a lineup set of like, you know, they're going to work with Ubisoft or whoever, because Microsoft, not only do they have Microsoft games now, of course they have all the Bethesda games, but also they bring in EA Play as part of Game Pass. So you can play Madden, you can play, you know, all the EA stuff. So we'll see what their partnerships end up being. I hope that these 700 games aren't just filler.
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued by what the PS2 and PS1 games will be, because, you know, you can emulate all that stuff now, but if they get some really marquee titles there, add trophies, that's going to be really fun to go back through some of those games. I hope it's not the same like 10 or 12 that are on PlayStation now and that's how they count it. You know, there's a lot that remains to be seen. I will say one impact this has had on me already, though. I am very hesitant to buy a game now until this service launches.
Sure.
Because it's like, do I want to spend $10 on something that I'm going to be able to get in 3 months? Probably not. So we'll see. Yeah, a lot remains to be seen, but I'm whelmed.
Sure.
I'm not underwhelmed, I'm not overwhelmed.
Yep.
This is exactly kind of what I thought it would be.
Yeah, and then the business model itself, like, you know, them saying that games, high-profile first-party games, probably not coming to the service day one, is short-sighted.
Sure.
But you know that they've had the discussion. They're like, here's the long-term value proposition if we do this.
Yeah.
And they just said no. Like, that's the thing. You know that they said, we're going to get a ton more subscribers if we have these games on the service day one.
Sure.
And then they just weighed the cost-benefit of how much they're going to reap the rewards of 15 million God of War Ragnarok sales, you know, whatever stupid numbers that game's going to sell.
Right.
So, Xbox made the bold decision early on with Game Pass to say, hey, we're going to put some of our highest profile games on here day one.
Yeah.
And it's doing okay for them.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's an adaptation that is inevitable. It's just, when do they bite the bullet and do it? I don't know when.
Here's my hope. Because I think PlayStation Plus was probably at its best in the early years.
Sure.
Because it feels like they had more momentous stuff on the platform. Then Games with Gold came out. Then Amazon Prime started doing it. And it kind of made everything a little more like, oh, okay, that's coming to Plus. I might play it. My hope is that this doesn't somehow dilute Game Pass and Xbox goes, well, PlayStation has this many subscribers without putting their AAAs on their day one. What if we just revoke that clause? I think that'd be a stupid move because, you know, I had Game Pass for a little while, got it again when Halo Infinite came out, and have had it ever since because I have seen the benefit of like, oh, Unpacking's really cool. Tunic looks cool. I'm going to play that. Like, that's the reason you put a AAA there. You get someone like me to subscribe because they want to play the AAA, and then they see, oh my God, there's a bunch of other games I want to play. I'll just keep this. Why not? So I don't know without that marquee title, and maybe for some it will be like Miles Morales or Returnal or games that they've, because like our buddy Skinny never bought Returnal, and he's like, great, I'm gonna get to play Returnal, it's gonna be awesome. So maybe that will be enticing enough for some people, but it's not going to entice as many people as your biggest game being on their day one.
Yeah. And with, Game Pass, my thought has always been, okay, I've got the few games that when I bought it, I'm like, okay, here's what I want to play.
Yeah.
But I'm confident that even if I don't add a game for months with Game Pass, eventually there will be a game that drops on there that basically I'll have gotten my money's worth in that game when it eventually drops, which that is a question mark as it stands right now with PlayStation's service. So
right, exactly.
Who knows?
It's going to be so imperative that the first couple of months of this are awesome.
Yeah.
Because if not, they are going to set the precedent that this is just worse Game Plus. Because basically that's what Now did, right? Now was like, oh shit, it's PlayStation's Game Pass. And then, well, that might have been before Game Pass, but, we have always had this like E3 prediction of, oh, they're going to really hammer into Now and it's going to become Game Pass. And they never did, so they really need to reset expectations with this new service, and hopefully they come out and ideally they just give a bunch of people a lot of awesome games to play and we're all happy.
Yeah, and this is a fall that should set it up pretty easily to do that, but it doesn't look like they're going to lean into it, so we shall see. Quick other little note here. This isn't a full-fledged story. This is a story about the potential of a story.
Okay.
But as long as we're on the Sony note, there are rumors swirling that have been, talked about by the likes of, Greg Miller, Jeff Grubb from GamesBeat, that there is a possible another large Sony acquisition on the horizon. We don't know who.
Okay.
All they've said that is what they have heard, and they had a mutual discussion about this, was that it is big.
Okay.
And that's all we really know at this phase.
Okay.
And, we sort of had a whole topic prognosticating about the possible acquisitions a couple weeks ago. So if you want to revisit our thoughts on that, I don't think any of us mentioned Bungie at the time. So it's entirely possible wherever we're going next with them could be somewhere completely out of left field. But who knows?
What if it's FromSoft?
I
doubt it. I think they made too much money.
I would say I almost doubt it now.
Yeah.
Because Elden Ring is now a bona fide, superstar smash hit.
Yeah.
That's going to be paying dividends for a while. But I really don't know where they would go now. Unless they go to one of the big obvious, like
Ubisoft, right?
EA, I don't know, whoever. They're not going to do EA. But
they wouldn't buy EA.
Xbox would, but
they
PlayStation might not.
Yeah.
So just keep your eyes peeled for that one. Could be months.
Could benefit the service too.
Could be hours.
Yeah.
We don't know when it's going to happen or if it's going to happen, but it could happen.
I don't think I'll make that a breakout.
Just tack that onto the end there as a Sony thing.
Yeah.
But what you do need to make a breakout.
Okay.
Is you no longer have to break out of structures in Fortnite that have been built. Because Fortnite has officially added a no-build mode.
Yes, it has.
It's called Zero Build.
Yeah, this is the first time, maybe ever, that I've been like, oh, maybe I'll play Fortnite.
So is it that? Did you feel like it was that gatekeeped of like, oh, if you can't build and you don't want to put in the time in to learn, you might as well just not jump in?
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Because I came from, this is going to go way back. I don't think we've ever talked about this on the podcast of your Fortnite days and my PUBG days.
Oh yeah.
So, I was really into the PUBG community. That's basically all I streamed for a little while. That and Overwatch, which seems like miles away from who I am now.
Yeah.
But it was, at the time it was really fun. So I played a lot of PUBG, knew PUBG really well. Obviously Fortnite came out with the Fortnite we know. Came out after PUBG because Fortnite before that was called Fortnite Saves the World. It was a single player thing, and then they kind of modeled that into a battle royale with the success of PUBG. I don't know if it was direct correlation, but it seemed to be at the time.
I think it was.
And then obviously Fortnite took off in a way that PUBG never did because it appealed to a younger audience and all that kind of stuff. But the thing that was difficult for me coming from PUBG was the building. Mm-hmm. That was an aspect that I had never experienced before. And not saying I couldn't have taken the time to learn it. I'm sure I could have. But it was just an added element and kind of took away from what I wanted a battle royale to be. Mm-hmm. I wanted it to be more... Looking back, PUBG is so slow, and I think Apex is kind of the ideal middle ground for me. But with being used to PUBG, it was more strategic and more about, like, your placement of yourself and your teammates, and is this, I mean, a lot of the stuff is crossover, I'm sure, but there was never, oh, I'm just going to build a tower and that's how every game ends, is someone's building a tower. Like, it felt more dynamic and less, this is the one idea that everyone does, and I just didn't like that about Fortnite. So the no build thing makes it seem like it could go back to a PUBG style or Apex style. Shooting is king, and it's more about strategy and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I agree, because when I got hot and heavy into Fortnite for a year and a half. I don't know exactly how long the time span was. It was like late first season, or really not even late first season, from like, or what are the breakdowns are like, is season like the long era of time and then it has the increments in between, or is each little increment a season?
I don't know.
I think it is. Whatever. There's the OG Island. Yeah. I was there for like season 3 on, and then like the beginning of what I think was season 2, like the big revamp of the island. Whatever. All that to say, I was decent enough at building to get by.
Yeah.
And when you were with a group of people, it mattered a lot less, because 3 people building together can accomplish a lot more, and at a certain point there's like diminishing returns with how quickly and how high you can build whatever your fortress is going to be in the end game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never felt like I was going to be able to win big and win consistently, because I would most of the time get like murked in the last like 30 seconds by a dude who was just like able to quick edit and shoot me through whatever, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I fell out of Fortnite. I got bored of it because you hit your ceiling, your skill ceiling.
Sure.
And not playing on PC is also part of that, because building, can be done easier on PC in certain ways.
All the hotkeys
do
and
your
stuff.
Quick little, I've seen people move a mouse, so like, I don't know, in ways that I didn't know mouses could move.
Yeah.
It was like a real mouse, but if it had like 8 legs, which is horrifying. Doing crazy stuff that it was just I was never going to get there. I'm like, okay, whatever, I'm moving on.
Yeah.
So yeah, like this idea is interesting enough, but I'm also far enough out of it at this point that I don't feel compelled to go back. And when I played it later, I sort of what is the past tense of forego?
Forwent? Is that? I mean, that's the first thing I thought.
I forwent building excessively anyway, and was like, if I'm going to win, I'm going to win the way I play. I'm just going to win less. So I did win some games with minimal building, and I'm just like, I'm just going to shoot your towers down, and then if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So
it is forwent.
Forwent.
Yeah.
So I forwent building, and then it's, might have got 4 wins total after that point. So,
nice.
Yeah, good for those who this sort of brings back into the fold.
Sure.
Levels the playing field a lot, that's for sure. And I at least think on the surface, that's good for the game.
Yeah, totally.
So, and that's it for the news, because the last news story is the big topic of today. And that is E3's canceled.
Yeah.
They canceled it.
Yeah, they did.
Well, I mean, they canceled it during COVID.
Because COVID. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But they just canceled it again. They had E3 last year.
Yeah.
COVID was still going on last year.
Yeah.
COVID's not over now.
No, we're not saying that by any means.
It is much more under control.
We have vaccines now.
So I was, under the full assumption that we would have a maybe not 100% normal, but relatively normal E3 type season this year.
Like a virtual
But
one.
E3 has been officially canceled.
Yeah.
So this topic is sort of like a loose discussion. And I kind of wanted to discuss the potential future, but also potentially just mourn E3.
Yeah.
Because I kind of think we might be witnessing the death of E3 as we know it.
I think so, man. This has been the trend for a while now that, I think ever since, I don't remember the exact year, it was probably like 2018 when Sony first said, we're just going to do our own thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be during E3. We're not going to do it at E3. It was the thing with like all the tents and stuff, right? With like Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima. There were 4 games shown. I don't remember the other 2. Returnal, maybe? And like ever since then, it seems like, and granted, this makes sense. Okay, let's talk about the history of E3. So E3 started, as many of these like expos for different things do, as an idea of this is our one day a year where, at the time it would have been like Nintendo and maybe Sega. Sega was at early E3s. I don't know if they were at the first E3. Mm-hmm. But the idea was, let's get all of the press in one spot. We'll show them everything we have planned for a year. They go out, and it's not just people at like EGM, but it's also people at like USA Today and the New York Times writing about what's coming in the new year for gaming. And that was the idea, to get everybody together, even people who don't write about video games necessarily, to show them, hey, games are real. This is what we're showing you.
It was for like marketing efficiency.
Right, exactly.
Like we can show them we can show every journalist that is relevant everything now.
Yes.
We don't have to be spending money all throughout the year marketing our stuff.
Right. This is pre-internet, obviously, when most media was through written or through TV. And it just made everything super efficient. It's a good way to say it. Then, of course, it evolved into what you and I knew E3 as more of a... It's still a media thing mostly, but, it's more fantastical. It's shown to the like normal people like you and me. For example, the first E3 I remember was on G4. It was obviously before streaming or anything. And it was kind of approached in the same way that a lot of places do, like Comic-Con or whatever, where it's like, we're here on the floor. We sent so-and-so to go check out this new game. And then they would show the big conferences. And then it probably evolved another step into the like streaming world kind of aspect of it. And they started letting normal people come.
Yep.
That was a big thing that a lot of games journalists spoke out against and was like, this is stupid. This is only going to confuse what this event is. Mm-hmm. Before, even when it was on TV or in the early days of streaming, it was still a press-only event, meaning there were certain things that they could do and show to make it less of a PAX or a Comic-Con where you have to appeal to the normal customer and more... hey, everyone's going to get 15 minutes behind closed doors to go check this out, then you can go write about it. When they added regular people, A, it only crowded the space and it pissed a lot of people off. But B, it also changed the tone of the show to make it more like another, PAX kind of thing. So then we entered this latest era where, Nintendo, I think, might have been the first to pull out of the big companies.
I think so. And well, they were the first to do non-live presentations of like the big ones. They just did their directs that were pre-filmed and they would just air concurrently with other E3 goings on.
And I think even before the directs they did like the Treehouse thing, right? Which was, hey, we're going to do it during E3, but it's not actually at E3. Yeah. We're on our own, we're 2 blocks away or whatever. Now, I don't know the real reason they did that other than maybe it was easier to manage their own space rather than, work through someone else's. I don't know. There's probably fees aligned with E3. Let's also not forget that E3 had all of its journalist information leak one year. So they've never been a paragon of like, trust. But yeah, it seems like more and more companies are discovering, and you and I have theorized about this in the past, that it is better to own your own day. And you can do that now through the power of the internet. You can just say, hey, we're doing our, summer news outlet, whatever you want to call it, our summer showcase. We're doing that 2 weeks from when E3 normally would be. That way, you get all your news and you get all the headlines, every story on IGN or whatever. So everybody has slowly discovered if we do it all at the same time, some of our games are going to get buried. And if we do it all separately, then we might get the spotlight. So it's kind of an inevitability, but...
It's a format that is regrettably obsolete.
Yes.
With the proliferation of streaming, I mean, they, why they honestly were up to a certain point in the last few years, even having, well, I mean, some companies didn't do this, like having a live audience, whether it was normal citizens or journalists.
Citizens.
Like, if a journalist can stream it from their office, from their house, wherever, why are you paying to fly these people out? Like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Put them up and let them come to the show. Everything is so easily accessible now that, yes, combining all this into a huge event that admittedly was fun for us.
Sure.
Because it's gaming Christmas, but now that sort of hype is just dispersed.
Yes.
Throughout little events, random announcements throughout the year.
Yeah.
Or at least that seems to be the way that we're going. It makes sense. It just is not fun.
Yeah. Now, do you think... Here's what I would theorize. I think that most companies of note, your Xbox, your Sony maybe, and then maybe like Ubisoft, EA, those kinds of people, I think there will still be one marquee event they do a year, and it's probably going to be in the summer. But I just don't think they're all going to be in the same week like they used to be. Because I think Xbox was the last one to be like, no, we are at E3.
Yeah.
We're doing an E3 show. And that was a pretty smart move on their part to sort of garner some goodwill.
Yeah.
Because, it made them seem like, no, we still love this idea. We still think it's fun for people, and it is. It's sort of... It used to be a bacchanal of games announcements where it was just like, here's everything, enjoy. Someone's gonna like anything out here. So now with it being limited, that kind of sucks. But I hope that we don't do. I hope that there is still one major show.
Yeah,
I'm fine with supplementary, directs or PlayStation showcases, whatever they're called. I'm fine with doing a couple of those a year. But I think there's something to be said for the, hey, you're not going to want to miss this one.
Yes.
This is our supplemental for E3 show. And Xbox has not adopted this direct thing. They really do just do one show. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping, you and I play mostly on PlayStation, but I'm kind of cheering for Xbox in this regard of like, no, show the value of getting all your announcements out at once. It's probably going to spike console sales. Like, I think there's a really smart aspect of just doing one thing a year as opposed to several throughout the year.
Yeah, PlayStation seemingly moving away from the PSX model has been a very questionable decision, and we've sort of harped on about the state of play and how we don't think that that's a good model because there's not enough singular hype built for any of these little events.
Sure.
And they're games that are going to get lost in the shuffle there, because if they want to do a one like they did not too long ago with the Japanese focused, a lot of those games.
Yeah.
I didn't watch that because there was no game that I was expecting to be on that show that was worth watching everything else.
Right, exactly.
And if there's one show with 5 marquee games being showed and then 10 other less than marquee games being showed, at least you're getting some runoff attention from the rest of those big games.
Great point.
It's like, it makes all the sense in the world to have your marquee event. Now, I agree. Do those events all need to take place in the same week of time? No, because honestly, that's bad for these companies. Because own your moment.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want the Polygon or the IGN front page being littered with stories about other companies right around when you have your big event. But I just long for the days where we knew that there are hype announcements coming.
Yes.
We didn't know what they were, but E3 was the time because of the structure that you knew you were going to hear about something cool.
Yes.
And now I don't really know when that is anymore.
Right.
Now, Jeff Keighley has tweeted that, in his Summer of Games and Opening Night Live, these are still things, and this is probably going to supplant E3 this year for all intents and purposes. Will it be what E3 has been in the past in terms of scale? Maybe not. But Jeff Keighley had some really awesome moments last year.
Yeah.
Not only between Opening Night Live and Summer Games Fest, the Game Awards.
Sure.
I mean, this man is kind of singularly taking over the hype announcement space.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see if he capitalizes on the lack of an E3. What do you have any thoughts about what he might do to adapt?
I don't know. I think he would have to. I think the Opening Night Live thing is confusingly branded.
Sure.
So I would lean toward the Summer Games Show, whatever they call that. Is it Summer Games Fest? Is that what
Summer Games Fest is it's literally like 3 months of little things.
Yeah, and there's like Steam sales and things like that.
And then there's Opening Night Live, which I remember Opening Night Live, the last one, because that's when they really showed off Elden Ring for the first time.
Oh, right. Yeah, so maybe it's that. Maybe
and then there's like this span of things, and then he does a show at the end of the summer. And I forget the name of that one off the top of my head, but yeah, he just it's sporadic and less concentrated. But
I mean, that's a cool idea. Again, though, I think it goes back to if you're Xbox and Sony, do you want to compete at the same show for clicks, or do you want to just do your own thing? One thing that I'm going to personally mourn, since this is almost a wake for E3 at this point, is the few but incredible times that a company has gotten a one-up on another company immediately thereafter.
Well, I'll tell you what. Since we've sort of said our piece about what we think is going on with the state of E3, I do want to transition, because the second half of what I wanted this conversation to be is just our favorite memories from E3.
Yeah, sure.
And absolutely, these were going to come up.
Yes. So the most notable for us, I think, or anyone around our age, is the Sony PS4, Xbox One, basically Sony just saying, hey, all the stuff you don't like from Xbox One is not on the PS4.
Yeah.
So Xbox One came out, I think, was it morning and night, or was it 2 separate days? Because Xbox was always that morning.
I want to say it was 2 separate days.
Okay.
But yes, Xbox was always at no, it was the same day because Xbox is like
Saturday
noon,
morning and PlayStation was Saturday night.
Something like that.
So Xbox comes out. We know that they're both announcing their new consoles. Microsoft's announcing the Xbox One, and this was honestly a pretty momentous moment in just the future of what game consoles would be, and I think you can point a lot of different things back to this particular day. Xbox just kind of misjudged what people would want for their gaming consoles. So when they came out, sure, they talked about some video games. I think like Quantum Break was there. That whatever that was, Rise. That's it.
Rise with a Y.
Yeah. There were some other games that they showed. Did they show a Halo then? Was there a Halo at launch? Halo 5?
That would have been a ballpark around the time of Halo.
Okay,
5.
so maybe there was that. But the big thing they were showing, or one of the big things they focused on, they spent like 20 minutes on it, was TV integration. Basically how your Xbox One could become a new cable box. And then shortly after the show, they tried to sort of sweep under the rug that they were announcing a DRM policy.
God.
So DRM basically means if you buy a game, like say I buy, Elden Ring, whatever. If I play Elden Ring on my console, I cannot then give Jay my copy of Elden Ring to go play it because
it's like linked to your account.
Yeah, I own the only copy for that disc. Steam is basically a DRM thing, but it's just tied to your account. All digital purchases.
Yeah, digital is
DRM.
Yeah.
But if it's physical, the idea that you can just sell your game or give it to someone else or sell it to GameStop, whatever. So they came out and they said our console has DRM. If you buy a physical copy, it's tied to your account. So then Sony later that night, did they make a jab about the TV thing? I feel like they did, right? Didn't they say
Are you saying on stage?
Yes. Or was that after that they were like, we're focusing only on games? I feel like they said something like that.
Because I forget the guy's name.
Shuhei?
No, the guy who did the presentation at the time. He has since left the company, but he was like the shorter, blonde.
What's his Andrew House?
No,
that's a different guy.
Andrew House was in the video with Shuhei,
right?
That made fun of the DRM thing, but that was after.
Yeah.
God, I forget his name. Jim? No, that's Jim Ryan now.
Is he like the? Oh God.
You know exactly.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about.
But anyway. I do. No, you're right because I remember him coming out on stage and being so. He could have just been like, games.
Yeah, and people would have cheered. Yeah,
we like games at PlayStation. That was like the whole vibe of their show. They undercut him on cost, didn't they? Yes,
because the Xbox was like
it was $500. The PS4 was $400.
Yeah.
They undercut him on cost. They nailed him with the games vibe. They were like, we make game consoles. We like games.
We're for the gamers.
Yeah. They just, it was set up so beautifully for them to counter what Xbox had done.
Yeah. And the biggest moment, of course, being
I'm gonna look up that guy's name.
Yeah, when they were talking about sort of the system specs or whatever, they basically said, and now we're gonna show a quick video on how you can share games with your friends on PlayStation. And it literally just cut to a video of Shuhei and I guess Andrew House.
Yeah.
And Shuhei just has a copy of whatever game and hands it to Andrew House. And he's like, enjoy.
Thanks.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And that's the whole video. It's very smart. Obviously something that they filmed on set at E3. Like very quick counter, smart stuff. But that's not the only one that's happened. Or you're looking up his name, right?
Yeah, I'm still trying to find it.
Okay.
This man's name might be lost to history.
So this is not the only time this like sort of gotcha moment has happened at E3. One of the most famous ones being, I think it was the Dreamcast and the N64. I don't remember the specifics of this. It's been a little while since I've read Console Wars, but basically, Nintendo came out. They had their new system. And Sega basically came out and said, hey, this is our system. It can do all the technical shit the N64 can, but better. Also, it's $100 cheaper. And it like blew everyone's mind. So that was from the earlier days of the media, but there's still video from it.
Jack Trenton.
Jack Trenton. Wow. Yeah. That is his name.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, so those kinds of moments are always a highlight for me of the, in Sega's case, sort of the scrappy underdog finally getting one over on Nintendo, and then in Sony's case, just your marketing team playing the absolute right note after a clunker from your competitor.
Yeah. And then beyond the, console, and the most hype years of E3, or at least leading up to it, were always like, we're getting a new console.
Right.
And you assume we're getting announcements of games that are next generation,
Yeah, even though
God rays and ray tracing,
even though launch games are never that
shadows
good.
And all that stuff.
Yeah.
You wanted to hear all that technical jibber jabber.
37 teraflops.
But beyond that, what were some of your favorite just game announcement moments from E3 history? Because I've told the story on this podcast of the Spider-Man PS4 announcement, which absolutely rocked my world because I was with you. Now, a lot of these we probably share.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've been in the same room for a lot of these now. God of War is definitely awesome. One of mine because just the moment of, I played a lot of God of War growing up. That was probably one of my most played PS2 games, honestly, or one most played PS2 franchises. And just the slow reveal of, oh my God, that's Kratos. Holy shit, this is God of War. That was pretty awesome.
Which we should just acknowledge that whole show was incredible.
Easily, to me, the best E3 show ever. In the same show, and these might be fresh on my mind because this is one of the only E3 shows I've ever gone back and watched multiple times. Me too. The Crash Bandicoot announcement of them finally getting Crash and doing a remastered trilogy, and that was awesome.
Which we said, so that was God of War, Spider-Man, Crash,
Horizon,
Days Gone,
Resident Evil
Last
7,
Guardian, Resident Evil 7.
Yeah. There's a Lego game there.
There was Call of Duty there.
Call of Duty was there.
Those are the ones that were the big announcements.
Yeah.
Horizon had been pre-announced, but that was the first gameplay extended. And then, but all the rest of those were new game announcements.
Yeah.
It was just brain breaking how many there were.
RE7 being in VR.
Yeah.
I remember when people were like, oh my God.
And not knowing it was RE.
Yeah.
Because it was just the kitchen demo that apparently had been sort of like a played out thing in, behind closed doors for some journalists in the past. And people were like, I recognize this.
Yeah.
And then the reveal of it being RE, some people lost their shit.
Yes. Yeah, it's a great show.
I remember being with you
Okay.
For the Fallout 4 announcement.
Oh, yeah.
In your old bedroom.
Yeah, that was Bethesda's first show, right?
I think so.
One of their first shows.
I think that was our justification. We're like, well, why are they doing their own show if they're not going to announce this?
Right. Yeah, that was pretty hype. That was a big one.
Yeah.
Good old Todd Phillips.
And then for me, nothing has come of it since, but when Elder Scrolls 6 was announced, I was like, over the moon.
Sure.
I'm way under it now, but...
I mean, you kind of got everything you could ask for with Elden Ring, though,
yeah,
right?
That's true. That's absolutely true.
That's kind of a surprise counter to that. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other really hype. I mean, it's become a meme, but Peggle 2 was awesome to me because I never thought that game was ever going to be anything else.
Keanu
was big. That was fun. Shocking.
If only the game had, lived up to the hype of that moment.
Which I've heard decent things about it now.
It's gotten better.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to rack my brain for any other really big E3. It's always fun when celebrities get involved, usually because it's bad.
Yeah.
So, that one time that we were watching EA... And then, they brought Pele on stage for, 30 minutes, and we were like, what is happening?
Well, so we've sort of kept up the tradition of predicting E3 season stuff. And that was always one thing of, someone's predicting, ex-athletes coming out during the EA show. Yeah. Which this is another, we can talk about our favorite moments as they come to us. But there's also the funny tropes of E3.
Yeah.
The Just Dance trailer every year. Things like that.
That one year that they used Radioactive in six different trailers. That was so funny.
Well, that was what Jack Trenton entered to
right.
The night that PlayStation 4 got the one up on Xbox One. He came out to Radioactive.
And that was the fourth time we had heard it that day. It was so funny because it was in a Call of Duty trailer. I forget what else it was in, but okay. If you had to rank not saying E3 is dead, but we're kind of acting like E3 is dead. If you had to rank companies based on E3 success, how would you rank them?
It is really tough to say because they've had their moments.
Sure.
I kind of think consistency-wise, I kind of think Xbox is the best, E3 performer consistently.
Yeah.
They always have a pretty good show.
Yeah.
And then they, we can reflect on how, their philosophy was a little off on the Xbox One launch, but they corrected all that stuff.
Right. And that's what made Xbox what it is now. I mean, I don't know if Phil Spencer was with the company or in the role he is now, when the TV stuff happened. I can't remember, but it seemed like that TV misstep has been like the reason Game Pass exists, the reason they did their whole we're focusing on games thing. It seems like their philosophy change, like you said, is a direct result of an E3 thing.
Yep. Like for being malleable, like I commend Xbox in a lot of ways.
I think I would slightly put Sony ahead, if only because I think they have had the best show more times than Xbox.
That's true.
I think Sony, like, granted, Sony can underwhelm, but when it's right, and I feel like they have the highest highs to me. Now, granted,
I agree with that.
You and I are big PlayStation guys. I don't think either of us like shit on Xbox to any degree. We're both Game Pass subscribers and all that kind of stuff, but our home console is Sony, so consider that a bias if you want. But I think they have the library of IP to excite more people with sequels and with even just the developers they have under their umbrella, right? Even though we had never played an Insomniac Spider-Man game, when we heard Insomniac Spider-Man game, we're like, this is going to be awesome because they're a really talented studio. Xbox doesn't quite, for me, yet have that legacy of developers that outside of what a trailer presents to me, I'm going to know the quality of it. So that would probably be, if it's just a random announcement, I'm probably picking a Sony announcement. Sure. But as you said, if you were to average out the scores you would give them, Xbox would probably be ahead.
Xbox gets like a 7 or 8.
Yeah, every year.
Consistently. But then there are those, you build up so much hype. So like post E3, I think it was 2015 or 16, the one that we praised so much from Sony.
Yeah.
That like, the next year you're like so jazzed, but it's an inevitable letdown.
Sure.
So that's the thing, that you get inevitable letdowns from Sony periodically.
Yeah.
And Sony also doesn't have, I think historically, quite the same degree of third-party partnerships.
Sure.
So you get a lot of good, random sprinkled in third-party games like at the Xbox. Like if you were predicting where you were going to see a big third-party gameplay demo, it's probably going to be at Xbox and not at Sony.
Yeah, totally.
So
it's a good point.
It's a variety, and you knew the tones were always so different.
Yeah.
And Sony sort of set the tone with that show that was just trailer, like, which is great.
Yes.
And that has sort of affected, I think, I think they sort of changed the game when they started doing that, because now, not only are they still doing that with the state of plays, basically,
sure.
Nintendo Directs, for the most part, are trailer.
Xbox.
This most recent Xbox last year,
we
commended them because the pace of the show was trailer. Even if you don't love the games, once you get to the game that you're interested in, if the trailers are coming hot and heavy, you forget about the trailer that you just saw that you didn't care about.
Totally.
So in that regard, Sony did pioneer the arguable best format for an E3 type show.
Yeah. Worst is EA, right?
Yeah, it's got to be.
I mean, Ubi's close, but I feel like Ubi has had more interesting stuff year on year than EA. I mean, EA is... Go ahead.
Devolver.
Oh, Devolver's great.
Devolver of any company has raised their profile more.
Yeah, true.
And maybe has won E3 in their own terms more than any other company.
Yeah,
just wanted to throw that out.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I mean, obviously they're not competing on the scale of Xbox and PlayStation, but as far as honing who they are, letting people know that just the tone of a normal Devolver game, I guess. Like, obviously it's not all going to be the same tone, but there is a quality assurance to their stuff. But yeah, making, as far as doing something completely on your own and succeeding on that, you're totally right. Devolver's great.
Devolver's never lost an E3. Is what I'll say.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
PlayStation and Xbox, you're always like, who won E3? And there's always a loser.
Yeah.
But Devolver always manages to like stick their message in there.
Yep, totally.
Gosh, I'm just gonna miss it.
Me too, man. Me too. But now we'll have 4 different weeks of fun stuff as opposed to one.
I don't know what the fuck we're gonna have. Like, we're gonna have some change. You know, the landscape is just different now.
Yeah.
We're not really certain how it's gonna evolve. You know, we've said, you know, it's basically every company should take their time and, you know, take the advantage of making your own carved out event. But
yeah,
we'll see if they choose to follow the advice of, you know, this guy who wears sunglasses indoors. You know, we'll see.
These 2 schmucks. Yeah. R.I.P. E3.
R.I.P. for now, at least.
Yeah.
And now, to put a pin on this, they did imply they're revamping for whatever next year is going to be. But my assumption is just that the format will be different.
Yeah.
It will not. E3 as we know it, I have declared dead. Put the stake in the ground. Carve the epitaph. Right off into the sunset.
Write your obit.
Exactly. On that somber note, Tanner.
Yeah.
Do you have a recommendation for the day?
I'm doing the basic thing. I'm recommending Fury this time.
Okay.
I really do think it's worth seeking out. I would recommend it to anyone who likes a little bit of a challenge in their games. Specifically, if you like arcadey stuff, I think it's the perfect length for what it is. I mean, granted, you know, I kind of mentioned that it's hard to give a 4-hour game a 10, but at the same time, it really succeeds at a lot of the things it tries. And I think for some people, it's going to be like a game of the year, even though it didn't come out this year, but like a game of the year that they play it in sort of contender. So
yeah. So my recommendation, and I don't think, I might have mentioned this fella by name, but I don't think I've ever made it my formal recommendation, but on the heels of a Souls-like From game coming out.
Yeah.
For all those who, you know, you start playing Elden Ring and you're enjoying the game, but you're like, I don't really know what this game's about.
Yeah.
Go to Vidya's YouTube channel.
Right, yeah.
This guy does the most in-depth lore breakdowns. He's done it for every FromSoft game.
Yeah.
It literally, from Demon Souls on, there are breakdowns of the lore. There are videos about, like, here are the 10 essential early game items. Here are 15 hidden secrets. Like,
right.
It's essential viewing once you've reached a point in the game where you've maybe decided, okay, I need some advice, I need some guidance, or I'm just curious about what the nature of this world is. Which, my first assessment, I remember when I first was talking about Elden Ring, I said that the story gist of the game was typical in that, like, you know, you're dead and you're trying to solve the problem of being undead and you keep living and dying, whatever.
Yeah.
I have learned a lot more, and that's not really a great representation of what the story is.
Okay.
Like, one of the early cutscenes calls your character, is like, ye, and the voice is epic, by the way.
Okay.
It's like, ye dead, who yet live? Something like that. So that was my take, but then I was like, oh, you're tarnished, and there was this great war, and you followed this person. Like, there's a lot that is elucidated by the points that Vidya made, because he goes into the, you know, if you've played a FromSoft game, every item has an item description.
Sure.
And sometimes that's where the story is, weirdly.
Yeah.
He compiles all that stuff and then tells you the lore as more of like a straightforward story.
Right.
In a way that's really easy to grasp. So for all those jumping into Elden Ring, for all those who've gone back and played any of the other games and don't know what the hell, you probably... I'm still get confused about what Bloodborne's about sometimes. And it's one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah.
So he's a great source for all that sorts of stuff.
I think that's the third Elden Ring thing you've recommended now. Between the game...
I haven't played another game in the last month.
It was the game, Elden Ring, TikTok, and then this guy.
I'll find something new by next week, I promise. But until next week, we're tapping out.